It was a full house at Impact Hub here in Accra for the Sangu Delle's book launch. They're making futures. I know Sangu Delle from 2018 Barcamp Accra. He was a mentor, and that was the first time I got to meet him. So when I got to hear of his book launch, I was excited, wanted to be part of it. So I got there to basically take pictures and take videos and put together some video highlights to share with you guys. If you've not already seen the pictures, you can see the link in the description below, the pictures I took. And here is the video highlights I want to quickly share with you guys.
Visited 47 countries. That's a major undertaking, right? Can you tell us what that experience was like, and how did you settle on the 17 entrepreneurs that you eventually wrote about in this book?
Yes, so it took a very long time and a lot of resources. I mean, this book is 7 years in the making. The writing part was about 2 years. The travel took about 5 years. And that's just because it takes a long time to get to all these different African countries and interview 600 plus entrepreneurs. But the book is dedicated to a dear friend and a brother, the late KhoPhi Dumont. I'd actually like to just read what I said about KhoPhi and why I dedicated to KhoPhi, which ties to why I did this. So this book is dedicated to a friend, a brother, and a beloved mentor, the late KhoPhi Dumont, an extraordinary African journalist who was the face of BBC Africa. KhoPhi was our very own prince, who narrated our stories with nuance, passion, and pride. He inspired an entire continent. He always taught me that we Africans have a responsibility to tell our own stories. KhoPhi, I hope I do you proud. And KhoPhi always used to talk about how we complain as Africans that, the African narrative is problematic, right? Yet his whole thing is that what are we doing to tell our own story? We need to be telling our own stories. And so his whole thing, he really inspired me to say that if you're frustrated about how Africa is being portrayed, go and tell the stories, right? Make sure that we're, what's that proverb? Until the lion starts telling its own story, the story of the hunt to glorify the hunter. And so part of it was an inspiration to tell our stories and to tell our stories in a very Pan-African way. Because a lot of times in telling our stories, I think that we don't do justice to the breadth and diversity of the African continent. So you have a lot of people here in Accra who have spent time in London and have spent time in New York and have spent time in Berlin, yet they haven't been outside Ghana, but they want to speak about Africa. What Africa are you speaking about? You don't know what you're talking about. You're living in Accra, you probably haven't even been to all 10 regions in Ghana. Yet, you want to speak authoritatively. Oh, in Africa, we do this. In what Africa? Which Africa have you been to? Yeah. And so, a part of it was also to say, we can't keep talking about things we don't know about. Right? We really need to actually go out and see what's out there and tell the stories with humility, in knowing that it's a learning experience. So that was part of the real inspiration. And the worst part was the narrowing down. First I tried to, 600, I tried to convince my publisher, can we do 50? She said, it's not going to fit. Then initially, we had it down to 24. And the book would have been too big. It would have been over 100,000 words. And she said, we have to slash more. And so it was very difficult, but there were a few rules we put in place. So the first problem was, when I first did the narrowing, she says, Sangu, you cannot have 9 Ghanaians. She's like, come on. I'm like, no, I'm not biased though. We just have, things are going on in Ghana. She's like, come on. Like, if it's going to be a Pan-African book, you can't have half of the entrepreneurs from Ghana. So we put in a rule that said, no country can have more than 2. And then so that limits it, so it forces you to, so that's why in the book we have 14 different countries represented. The other thing we did was to try to look for diversity, right, in the stories. And then the other thing that was very important for me was to ensure that we had gender parity. And this was very important for me and for my publisher, Bibi, at Cassava Republic, because Bibi always says this thing. She says, it's important to understand. She says, Sangu, who lives in your head? Right? And a lot of times, if you go to kids today and you tell them who's a tech entrepreneur, they're going to mention Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates. They're going to mention men. And I didn't want us to reproduce that ideology or that idea that the conception of entrepreneurship or an entrepreneur is masculine. Especially in our part of the world where we actually, in Ghana and Zambia, we have more female entrepreneurs than male entrepreneurs as a percentage. We have the highest rates of female entrepreneurship in the world. And so I want the next generation growing up, when they think about tech entrepreneurs, to be like Miche, Jetstream, and not some dude. Right, and it's important for us to recognize that, especially because a lot of our politicians use entrepreneurship as like a get out of jail free card. Oh, we're going to solve the jobs issue, entrepreneurship, and it's just this term that means nothing, right? And so, in fact, it's because of that that I think these stories are important, because you actually understand when you're reading the stories, the struggle. That it's not just this, you wake up and you want to be an entrepreneur, but they're real issues. You know, we have infrastructural challenges, we have education challenges, we have serious human capital challenges, we have financing challenges. Some of our challenges are heavily gendered, right? And I talk about some of these issues. And so a part of it is, but the reality, Patrick, also is, we are already the youngest continent in the world.
Innovations and swing commutations. She gains in beauty. Her name is Pretty.
So basically that's all the highlights I have to share with you guys. If you want to get a copy of the book, you can find it in the description below. I'm sure there's going to be a digital copy of it as well. So the publishers of the book is Cassava Republic. You can find the link in the description. So that is basically the highlights. If this is your first time coming to this channel, make sure to check around. If you like the content, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for joining me in this one, and hope to see you in the next. Bye.